A man wooed a girl with resurrection skills into being his wife with just a warm meal. Looking at the delicious dishes, Mi Li and Rice were drooling. They hadn't tasted such delicious food in a long time. After eating, Mi Li said goodbye to Chen Luo, preparing to go home. But how could Chen Luo easily let go of Mi Li, a top-tier assistant? So he used the excuse that it's too dangerous for her to be alone, suggesting that he, Su Daju, and Sister Yu would move to her place. It would be good for them to take care of each other. The reason Chen Luo wanted to do this was mainly to also recruit Mi Li's twin sister into the team. Hearing this, Mi Li happily agreed. This isn't about looking out for each other. Clearly, it's big brother Chen Luo looking out for me. With that, everyone started packing and preparing to move. In no time, Chen Luo and the others were ready. Then they drove a heavy truck to the foot of Mi Li's building. Her place had 4 rooms and a living room, just big enough for everyone. If no one minds, Chen Luo took out 2 watermelons from the space and cut them for everyone. This moved Mi Li deeply. The outside world is so dangerous now. Big brother Chen Luo is protecting me. He not only gave me delicious meals, but also brought light on a power outage night and my favorite watermelon. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but hug Chen Luo. Brother Chen Luo, I feel that the luckiest thing in my life is meeting you. Being hugged like this, Chen Luo secretly felt pleased inside. It's all thanks to my darn charm. It's a pity I only met Mi Li today. I can't rush to eat hot tofu. Otherwise, my ugly face would have been exposed. Thinking of this, he started to comfort Mi Li. In the future, we're all teammates. Helping each other is what we should do. No need to be so formal. Do you want to eat some watermelon before hugging me again? Hearing this, Mi Li's face turned red. She ate the watermelon in small bites. Her face flushed, trying to hide her embarrassment. After finishing the watermelon, Mi Li began to assign rooms to everyone. Sister Yu, you stay here. This room was for classmates who occasionally visited. Brother Su Daju, this room is where my sister paints. Just move a bed in, and it's good to go. Brother Chen Luo, this is my sister's room. You can stay here. This made Chen Luo a bit puzzled. If he stayed in Mi Ling's room, where would Mi Ling stay when she returned? Never mind, let's just settle down first. With that in mind, Chen Luo took out some zombie crystals for Mi Li. After teaching her how to use them, he bid her goodnight and went to his room. But as soon as he opened the door, he saw Rice waiting for him on the bed, even casting him a flirtatious glance. You devil, why did you come so late? This left Chen Luo speechless. Rice and Thunder King, although they had increased intelligence, had never received education. They didn't really understand the meaning behind those words. Rice just thought it was fun, so when Chen Luo entered, he teased, I'll sleep with you tonight, and with Mi Li tomorrow. Rice said, rubbing against Chen Luo's hand, you're really a flirtatious cat. Know how to share love equally. Chen Luo picked up Rice and started petting him vigorously. Rice was indeed lovable, good-looking, and sweet-talking. Well, I'll pamper you well tonight. Let's cultivate together. Having said that, Chen Luo took out the crystals and absorbed them with Rice. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mi Ling was clearing zombies on the road, hurrying home. Accompanying her were 2 of her classmates. However, these 2 inept teammates kept hiding behind her out of fear, and she had to protect them from time to time. It was exhausting for her. Whenever they encountered zombies, they'd push Mi Ling forward to deal with them. This infuriated her beyond measure. Although her flame ability was potent, the consumption of energy was immense. Even after advancing to level 2, she couldn't deal with multiple zombies consecutively. Looking at the 2 cowardly teammates hiding in the bushes, Mi Ling couldn't help but think of her younger sister. If I'm struggling so much to survive, how could my delicate little sister cope? Did she starve to death at home, or was she eaten by zombies when she went out to find supplies? As the zombies were cleared, the 2 cowardly teammates cheerfully emerged from the bushes, and the group continued on. In her heart, Mi Ling prayed, Mi Li, if you're still alive, please hold on. I saved a piece of chocolate just for you. On the other side, Chen Luo and his team were preparing for a barbecue night. Just as Chen Luo was about to ask Su Daju and Mi Li what skewers they wanted, shouts came from downstairs. Mi Li was shaken, and a look of immense joy appeared on her face. Excitedly, she exclaimed, it's my sister. My sister is back. Saying this, she dashed downstairs. Witnessing this, Chen Luo murmured to himself, after a long wait, I've finally met you, Mi Ling. He then followed Mi Li. Seeing the 2 sisters embrace, he felt reassured. It's touching, he thought. But as this sentiment settled, Chen Luo suddenly noticed the 2 dimwits nearby, wondering where on earth they had come from. Xinjiang and Wang Xinwu looked excitedly at Mi Li, their faces alight with anticipation. The 2 quickly exchanged glances. Mi Ling, the campus belle, has a sister, and Mi Li is no less beautiful. It was worth accompanying her all the way from school for so long. Yeah, if we can get close to these 2 sisters, it would be a dream come true. The sudden appearance of Chen Luo put Xinjiang and Wang Xinwu on alert. Who is he? Why is he with Mi Li? I don't know. I've never heard of Mi Ling having a brother. Seeing Chen Luo, Mi Ling also became instantly wary. Seeing her sister's reaction, Mi Li smiled and quickly introduced Chen Luo. Hearing this, Mi Ling had an epiphany. Oh, I see. That's why Mi Li looks so well taken care of. He really has done a good job with her. Meanwhile, in their minds, Xinjiang and Wang Xinwu decided to take the initiative and woo Mi Li. After all, Mi Ling had been distant towards them throughout their journey. Thinking this, Wang Wang Xingwu made the first move, pulling out a crumpled piece of bread and offering it to Mi Li. Seeing this, Xinjiang hurriedly pushed Wang Xingwu aside and presented Mi Li with a sausage. Mi Li, don't be shy with us. Look, I also have some grilled sausages for you. Xinjiang looked at Wang Xingwu in astonishment, thinking, you're going all out, aren't you? The supermarkets outside are all full of zombies. Getting these supplies was extremely hard. However, Mi Li decisively declined their offers. She could eat and drink whatever she wanted every day. Why would she care for their measly bread and sausage? Even if Chenluo wasn't around, she wouldn't accept things from strangers. Chenluo, watching from the side, couldn't help but think, these two guys, their attempts at flirting are so obvious. But he had already decided how to get rid of them. Daring to vie with him for someone's affection was a death wish. Mi Ling, seeing the two trying to woo her sister, knew exactly what they were thinking. She mentally cursed herself for ever getting involved with such burdens. I can't let them be a burden to me and my sister any longer. After a farewell meal later, we should all go our separate ways. Thinking of this, she motioned for everyone to head upstairs. Hearing this, the two men made a face as if they were pigs, still fantasizing about living together with the campus belle. Mi Ling then inquired tentatively, do we still have food at home? Chenluo thought, of course, we have food, but only if you, Mi Ling, listen to me and join me. Otherwise, there's nothing for you. As soon as they entered the house, Chenluo asked Sister Yu to cook some rice. After all, it's Mi Li's sister. He couldn't be too stingy. I'll offer some rice for you all. This made Ma Yu puzzled. I thought we were having a barbecue. Why suddenly change to rice? When he saw the group, he immediately understood Chenluo's intentions. As soon as Xinjiang and Wang Xingwu entered the house, they rushed into the kitchen. Seeing Ma Yu pouring purified water into the rice cooker, without a word, they grabbed the water bucket from him, hoisted it up, and began to drink directly from it. Ma Yu looked at their disgraceful behavior and immediately felt repulsed. Can't you pour it into a bowl to drink? How will others use it if you drink like this? However, the two were indifferent. Do you know how hard our journey here was? What's the big deal about drinking some water? This made Chenluo even more eager to get rid of the two. After quenching their thirst, Wang Xingwu and Xinjiang left the kitchen, surveying the environment approvingly. Worthy of the campus belle's house. It's spacious and the interior design is stylish. It's just a pity there's another guy here. At that moment, Xinjiang suddenly paused, his eyes locked onto Thunder King, the dog lying under the couch. Both of their mouths watered, wanting to eat the dog. They began to act self-righteous and started lecturing Chenluo. Bro, no offense, but people are struggling to survive in these times. Why are you keeping a dog? I heard you say you only have a bit of rice left. What will you do after it's finished? Take our advice and slaughter this dog. It would not only save food, but also feed everyone. Thunder King, hearing this, immediately glared at them menacingly, causing them to be taken aback. Bro, this dog is too aggressive. What if it harms someone? It's better to cook it and improve everyone's meal. Upon hearing this, Chenluo immediately wanted to get rid of them. How dare they think of harming my dog? His usually cheerful face instantly turned cold. I indeed don't have extra food to feed a dog, but it seems I have to feed two dogs here. You two better get lost before I lose my temper. Upon hearing this, Xinjiang became furiously embarrassed. Pretty boy, have you ever fought a zombie? How dare you talk to me like this? Chenluo was taken aback. Fight with zombies? This guy is too perverted. It seems as long as one has courage, even zombies need maternity leave. I indeed haven't fought zombies. As soon as he finished, Xinjiang snorted coldly. I knew it. You're just a pretty boy hiding at home. Then he turned to Mi Ling and continued, Mi Ling, we've been with you all the way. We've suffered so much, faced countless dangers. Don't you know how hard it is to survive? This guy is wasting food on a dog. Isn't that a waste? Wang Xingwu chimed in. You know what we've been eating on our way here. Besides, the end of the world is not a suitable time to keep dogs. Why not eat it to improve our meals? Mi Ling, disgusted by their behavior, shouted, you two bastards, shut up. Do you think I don't know what filthy thoughts you've been harboring? Throughout our journey, all you've done is hide behind me. I initially thought we'd have a farewell meal together, but it seems there's no need now. Get out right now. From now on, everyone fends for themselves, and we won't interfere with each other. Upon hearing this, Xinjiang and Wang Xingwu were furious. They hadn't expected Mi Ling to break off ties with them. Mi Ling, have you no conscience? We risked our lives to protect you and even helped you find your sister. Now you're just abandoning us? Mi Ling laughed coldly. It's laughable. Every time we encountered zombies, you pushed me to the front. Who was really protecting whom? Hearing Mi Ling reveal their true colors, an infuriated Xinjiang began cursing at her. Mi Ling didn't bother to argue with them and waited for them to finish their tirade before telling them to leave immediately. Before leaving, the two didn't forget to throw out threats. On the side, Chenluo petted Thunder King's Ling's head, signaling him to follow them out and finish them off. In this apocalyptic world, it's hard to predict human nature. Thunder King nodded in agreement and quickly followed the two downstairs. Seeing this, Mi Ling was puzzled. Is this dog being sent to deliver dog meat? Xinjiang and Wang Xinwu continued their rants downstairs, planning revenge. Little did they know they were nearing the end of their lives. Suddenly, there was a noise behind them. To their surprise, it was Thunder King. Just as they thought they could feast on dog meat tonight, Thunder King spat out 5 bolts of lightning. Before they could react, they were electrocuted to death. Having dealt with the two, Thunder King lifted his head and hurried back home, thinking, you thought you could eat dog meat with that level of skill? What pathetic trash. Back home, after Mi Ling finished a pot full of rice, she looked at Chen Luo apologetically, having consumed all the rice. But don't worry, whatever I've eaten from you now, I'll repay you doubly in the future. Chen Luo simply responded with an "oh" and asked if she was full. After receiving a positive answer, Chen Luo turned to Mayu and said, Sister Yu, we won't have a barbecue today. Let's make meibo tofu, hand-torn cabbage, spicy shredded potatoes, boiled beef slices, spicy diced chicken, braised prawns, spicy crab, beef. As for soup, let's make tomato and egg soup. Hearing this, Mi Ling was puzzled. Chen Luo gestured for Mi Li to come over. Mi Li, come with me. I have something to discuss with you. Mi Li nodded and followed Chen Luo to a room, which made Mi Ling frown in suspicion. A man and a woman alone in a room? What was Chen Luo up to? Was he planning to make a move on her sister right in front of her? As they entered the room, Chen Luo quickly cornered Mi Li, placing one hand on the wall beside her. The intimate gesture made Mi Li blush. Chen Luo looked at her affectionately. Being with your brother, you don't have to worry about food or drinks, right? Mi Li nodded. And with me, you feel safe and protected, right? She nodded again, her face turning even redder. Chen Luo smiled at her. It's because you're obedient, gentle, and capable that I treat you well. But does your sister listen to me? At this, Mi Li pondered. Her sister was always independent and hardly knew Chen Luo. She wouldn't just listen to him. Seeing Mi Li lost in thought, Chen Luo continued, Mi Li, if you had to choose a leader between me and your sister, who would better lead us to survive in this world? Without hesitation, Mi Li responded, of course, it's you, brother Chen Luo. After all, my sister just returned and ate like a starved ghost. She devoured 3 bowls of unwashed rice, which made me feel sorry for her. Meanwhile, the dog you keep is even tired of eating meat. Since meeting you, I've never gone hungry again. If my sister can't even take care of herself, how can she lead the rest of us? Chen Luo chuckled. So we must first get your sister to. He initially wanted to say be trained to obey, but he stopped, thinking it sounded too sinister and didn't want to come off as a creep. Mi Li looked at Chen Luo, puzzled as he suddenly stopped speaking midway. What do you mean by we must? She asked, her expression full of confusion. Chen Luo felt a rush of awkwardness, causing sweat to form on his brow. Clearing his throat, he said earnestly, we must get her to listen to me. Otherwise, in crucial moments, disagreements between your sister and me might put us all in danger. Mi Li nodded in agreement, seeing the logic in his words. So, until she listens to me, I won't share my supplies with her. She'll have to watch us eat. With that, Chen Luo patted Mi Li's shoulder. Whenever she starts listening, she can eat. Remember, we're doing this for her good. Having been somewhat brainwashed by Chen Luo, Mi Li echoed, yes, it's all for my sister's sake. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Mi Ling was shocked to see Mayu preparing a vast amount of food. She hurriedly advised her to conserve supplies, but Mayu ignored her, stating that Chen Luo had instructed her to cook all this. How much she cooked wasn't her decision. Hearing this, Mi Ling went straight to Chen Luo, urging him to be more frugal. Otherwise, there'd be nothing left to eat tomorrow. Chen Luo remained unfazed. Today, you reunited with Mi Li. It's a happy occasion and deserves celebration. Besides, these are my supplies, so it's none of your business. Mi Ling was taken aback. She had never seen anyone be so extravagant during the apocalypse. Looking at the feast, she sighed, regretting eating so much earlier. Although full, she couldn't resist joining them for the delectable dishes. As Mi Ling took a seat at the dining table, Chen Luo asked her in surprise, what are you doing sitting here? This infuriated Mi Ling, and she retorted, where I sit is none of your business. Mi Li could only silently apologize to her sister in her heart. For her sister's future, she'd have to endure some discomfort now. We're about to start eating. It's not appropriate for you to sit here. Of course, if you want to watch us eat, feel free to stay. Upon hearing Chen Luo's words, Mi Ling's face was filled with disbelief. What do you mean? Don't I have a share of the food? Chen Luo responded that the sumptuous feast laid out on the table wasn't for her. Furious, Mi Ling exclaimed, didn't you say this was to celebrate my reunion with Mi Li? Yes, I did. Chen Luo replied coolly, but I never said you'd be joining us for the meal. You're not part of our team. Only those who are with me get to enjoy the delicacies I've risked my life to bring back. Turning to Mi Li, he asked, aren't you with me? Mi Li bashfully nodded. Yes, I am with you. Chen Luo, Su Daju, sister you, and even Thunder King the dog and Rice the cat all echoed their allegiance to Chenluo. Chenluo looked at Mi Ling triumphantly. See, only those loyal to me get to eat my food. Since you're not with us, why should you have any right to eat with us? Unless you two decide to follow me and call me brother, you can't share our meal. Mi Ling, more enraged than ever, interrupted him. Slapping her hand on the table, she shouted, Chenluo, don't push me too far. Just for a meal, you want to humiliate me like this? Let me tell you, even if I starve, I won't take a single bite of your food. With that, she stormed off towards her room. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. It was a blatant play at humiliation. After all the hardships she'd endured to return home, she had been met with betrayal. Forced to smell the tantalizing aromas from the dishes and listen to them discuss the delectable food, she couldn't stand being in the living room any longer. She couldn't bear the scent of the food. With a cold expression, Mi Ling retreated to her room. Just as Mi Ling entered her room, her chest tightened with anger. On her bed was a man's underwear. Without a doubt, it belonged to Chenluo. Oh, Mi Li, what a wonderful sister you are, she thought sarcastically. You gave away your own sister's room to a man. Just then, Mi Li peeked in, attempting to explain the situation. Hearing her words, Mi Ling clenched her fists, grinding her teeth in anger. She held back her fury only because she had seen how Chenluo took care of her sister. If not for that, she would have given him a piece of her mind. Mi Li mentioned, Chenluo said it's okay to take a shower. Just make sure you don't swallow any water. If you feel uncomfortable, you can rinse off quickly. Nodding, Mi Ling told her to go back to her meal. While showering, Mi Ling couldn't understand how she had become so isolated. Rice's behavior was understandable. Cats were known to be fickle. As the saying goes, with treats, they recognized their master. But she was deeply hurt that even Mi Li seemed to have traded her loyalty for food. Eat all you want now, she thought. Once the fridge is empty, Mi Li and Rice will come running back to me. Just wait and see who has the last laugh. When she finished her shower and heard Chenluo distributing grapes for dessert, her mouth watered uncontrollably. Of all the fruits, why did he have to choose my favorite? Grapes? I want some so badly. Shaking her head, she tried to distract herself from the craving. Coming out, Mi Ling called Mi Li to her room. She wanted to understand everything that had happened recently, how Chenluo acquired the supplies, what kind of spell he had cast over everyone, especially her sister. Mi Li, on the other hand, saw this as an opportunity to persuade Mi Ling to listen to Chenluo. Chenluo, who was nearby, unabashedly admired Mi Ling's figure. Even a brief glance at her seemed tempting. To tease her, he waved some grapes in front of her. Fuming, Mi Ling was sure he was doing this on purpose. Once inside the room, Mi Ling pushed Mi Li onto the bed, glaring at her. Why are you siding with a stranger over your own sister? What was that earlier? Why didn't you stand up for me? Mi Li pleaded while trying to reason with Mi Ling. Sister, I did what I did for the good of all of us. If we're going to form a team, we'll need a leader to avoid disputes during dangerous times. Among us, Chenluo is the most suitable candidate. That's why I didn't support you at first. Chenluo was just worried you wouldn't cooperate, which is why he resorted to such tactics to corner you. Besides, he discussed it with me beforehand, and I agreed with him. Hearing Mi Li's explanation, Mi Ling suspected that her sister had been brainwashed by Chenluo. If he shows his competence, I'd naturally listen to him. But using such trivial methods, does he think he can make me surrender just by offering a meal? She retorted. Upon hearing this, Mi Li felt frustrated and asked Mi Ling about her plans. A continued standoff wouldn't be helpful. Mi Ling stated that unless Chenluo showcased his prowess, let's have a duel. The winner will lead. If he's so sure of himself, let him prove it. Saying so, Mi Ling grabbed her jacket, heading decisively towards the door. Panicking, Mi Li asked, where are you going? I'm going to search for some food within the community, Mi Ling replied. But it's getting dark. What if something dangerous happens? Chenluo, can you please talk some sense into her? Mi Li pleaded. Chenluo hesitated. Sorry, Mi Li. I have no grounds to stop your sister. But don't worry, let her take Rice with her. It can sense danger in advance. Rice grumbled, unhappy with the arrangement. Why doesn't Mi Ling just align herself with Chenluo? Women are so obstinate. Chenluo nudged Thunder King with his foot, signaling for him to accompany Mi Ling. Thunder King muttered to himself, why go out in such heat? It's annoying. Mi Li intervened. If that's the case, can I assist my sister? Nodding, Chenluo replied, yes, but make sure you're well equipped and stay safe. Watching the duo, accompanied by a cat and a dog, leave the house, Chenluo sighed deeply. Mi Ling, I never wanted to trick you this way, but you did kick my butt in our previous life, just because I stole a few cabbages from you. Isn't it fair to take some small revenge now? However, this couldn't go on like this indefinitely. A solution had to be found to bring her under control. 10 minutes later, Mi Ling returned with a bucket of instant noodles and began to show off in front of Chenluo. Hearing this, this, Chen Luo chuckled. I was planning to have barbecue tonight, but since you are flaunting in front of me, I will show you what real beef noodles are like. After ordering Sister Yu to prepare beef noodles for the night, he turned his focus back to the significant issue at hand. Chen Luo then directly invited Mi Ling to have a serious conversation, to which Mi Ling nodded in agreement. He began, "Firstly, I admit that my behavior at noon was excessive. I shouldn't have treated you like that, and for that, I apologize. Secondly, until you recognize my position as the leader, I won't be sharing my resources with you. After all, the role of a leader requires both strength and strategy, but I will prove to you that my abilities and judgment are superior to yours. First, regarding strength, let's have a duel in 3 days. If I lose, I will follow your lead from then on." Mi Ling's eyes brightened at this proposal. "Are you serious?" she asked, indicating that she was willing to have the duel immediately. Chen Luo, however, flatly refused. He explained that he wasn't in full control of his abilities and feared he might seriously injure her. Besides, he added, "Just wait 3 days. Once I break through to the 4th level, I will be able to crush you easily. Moreover, as you are now, you wouldn't just lose to me, you'd lose to Thunder King as well." Hearing that she was considered inferior even to a dog, Mi Ling became furious on the spot. "Are you saying I can't even beat your damn dog? This Chen Luo is humiliating me again, comparing me to a dog." Seeing Mi Ling in this state, Chen Luo quickly conceded, all right, you are more formidable than Thunder King. Happy now?" Just then, Thunder King suddenly became alert. The next second, there was a knock on the door. Along with it came the pleading voice of a woman. "Please, Mi Ling, give me something to eat. I haven't eaten in 2 days." Hearing this, Mi Ling responded with a question. "You haven't eaten in 2 days? Doesn't that mean you ate something 2 days ago?" Chen Luo, standing nearby, was taken aback. Such a fresh and natural response from her, he thought. The woman outside was speechless. Is this what a person says? Mi Ling continued coldly, "I have nothing for you. Leave." However, Mi Li felt a pang of guilt. Seeing this, Mi Ling sternly told her, "No matter how much food we give her, she will never be satisfied. When the food runs out and she comes asking again, what will you do? In this post-apocalyptic world, only the fittest survive. If she can't find food and dies, it's her own fault for being weak." Chen Luo, hearing this, couldn't help but praise Mi Ling. "Impressive, Mi Ling. You have a high level of awareness." Mi Ling, however, wasn't impressed. "Enough talk. In 3 days, I want to see where your confidence comes from." At this moment, Rice whispered to Chen Luo that the woman outside was filled with malice. Nodding, Chen Luo held Rice close. No matter the reason for the malice, if she dares to approach, she won't be leaving. The woman, cursing under her breath, left Mi Ling's home. "That little bitch Mi Ling is so heartless," she muttered. Quickly, she informed others in the community about the incident. The people began to gossip excitedly. "Great, Mi Ling and Mi Li are alive. Otherwise, it would be such a waste. With their figures and looks, dying under a peony tree would make even a ghost charming." As they spoke, a group prepared to head towards Mi Ling's home. Upstairs, Su Daju witnessed this and immediately reported it to Chen Luo. Chen Luo responded with a cold laugh, instructing Su Daju, "Deal with that group. Just don't let them die in the corridor. We don't want to clean up the mess." Su Daju nodded in agreement. Before leaving, Mi Li released 2 green lights into Su Daju's body. One amplified his strength, and the other boosted his defense. With the buffs, Su Daju and Thunder King headed downstairs. He then watched the situation from the window. Mi Ling, who was nearby, surprisingly found Chen Luo quite handsome. She thought, "I want to see if this man and dog duo are as impressive as they seem." That, she approached Chen Luo, maintaining a distance of half a meter, and observed the situation below. At that moment, Su Daju was surrounded by 5 people. Thunder King suddenly dashed out, barking at the crowd. This excited the group, and their first thought was, "We have dog meat now." Taking advantage of their distraction, Su Daju ambushed one of them. The others quickly responded, attacking Su Daju, but their strikes didn't harm him at all. The group was taken aback, realizing Su Daju was also a superpowered individual. As they prepared to use their abilities against him, Thunder King unleashed a bolt of lightning at them. In no time, Su Daju and Thunder King had taken out the group. Upstairs, Chen Luo was a bit surprised. Thunder King took the initiative to draw their attention. "I didn't teach him that. Did he learn it on his own?" Thinking this, he turned to Mi Li, preparing to give her a task. Mi Li, retrieve the crystals from the foreheads of those 6 people. Mi Li was horrified and pointed at herself in disbelief. Chen Luo nodded. "Yes, even if you are a support, there are some things you need to experience firsthand. It's to ensure you can adapt during critical moments without affecting the battle." Hearing this, Mi Li looked pleadingly at Mi Ling, hoping she'd intercede. However, Mi Ling strongly agreed with Chen Luo's words. "Mi Li, this is something you will eventually have to face. It's better to get familiar with it now when it's safe." Mi Ling also swore in her heart, "Dear sister, I swear I'm not trying to get back at you for not backing me up at lunch. It's really for your own good." Taking the dagger handed over by Chen Luo, Mi Li went downstairs with him. Facing the corpses, Mi Li, with a whining voice, turned to Thunder King, hoping he'd do the task for her. Thunder King promptly shook shook his head. This isn't a job for a dog. Gathering her courage, Mi Li made an incision on a corpse's forehead and extracted the crystal. Immediately, she vomited. After a few minutes, pale-faced, Mi Li handed over the packaged crystals to Chen Luo. Seeing her drenched in cold sweat, he comforted her. It's okay. You'll get used to it after a while. Sudaju used to be the same. Later, I'll ask Sister Yu to prepare braised beef noodles for you. After going upstairs, a bowl of steaming braised beef noodles was served. Mi Ling looked at the noodles in shock. Are you here to eat beef or beef noodles? Who eats beef noodles like this? Chen Luo then handed the bowl with the most beef to Mi Li, but she couldn't eat due to the trauma from earlier. Mi Ling on the side was even more infuriated. Chen Luo definitely did it on purpose. Mi Ling had resisted the temptation for several days, waiting for the duel with Chen Luo in 3 days. If she won, all the food would belong to her, but the tantalizing aroma from the side made her even more furious. Eat, eat, eat. Let's see what you'll eat next time. Don't I know how big my fridge is? That evening, when Mi Ling saw another lavish dinner on the table, she was astounded. Knowing the size of their refrigerator, she thought, it's so small. They should have emptied it in 2 meals. Rushing to the kitchen, Mi Ling opened the fridge to discover it full of food again. Chen Luo, how did the fridge fill up again? When did you go out? Even if you did, you shouldn't have gotten such fresh produce, Mi Ling questioned. Before Chen Luo could respond, Mi Li interrupted. Sister, actually, Chen Luo has spatial abilities. He has stored enough ingredients to last for several years. This left Mi Ling dumbfounded, feeling like a fool. Angrily, she asked Mi Li why she hadn't mentioned it earlier. Mi Li sheepishly scratched her head. I'm sorry, sister. I was so excited that I forgot to tell you. Upon hearing this, Mi Ling chose not to argue further. She turned to Chen Luo and said, according to our agreement, we'll have a fight in 2 days. If you lose, you'll obediently listen to me. Chen Luo smiled. Perhaps we can do it tomorrow. I'll try to satisfy your desire to be dominated. Mi Ling, however, didn't take his words seriously, still fantasizing about defeating Chen Luo and having him kneel at her feet, calling her sister. After Mi Ling left, Chen Luo returned to his room, preparing to use the mutated Rat King crystal he obtained a few days ago. Level 4 was crucial for him, enabling the use of void walking. It would bring a qualitative change to his strength and a drastic improvement in his ability to protect himself. A sharp pain in his brain signaled his successful advancement to level 4, and with more than half of the Rat King's crystal energy remaining, Chen Luo eagerly used void walking. In an instant, he appeared outside the door, startling Thunder King, who was guarding it. Don't be afraid, it's me, Chen Luo said. Thunder King replied, I'm guarding the door for you, and you scare me? The next morning, Mi Ling looked at Chen Luo discontentedly. Did you let your dog disturb my sleep last night to give you an advantage in our duel? Thunder King glanced resentfully at Chen Luo, remembering the scare from the night before. Chen Luo simply smiled. You overestimate yourself. Let's have breakfast first, then we can have our match. Mi Ling's eyes lit up. So we don't have to wait till tomorrow? Before that, I need to clarify something. If I win, you'll listen to me, right? Chen Luo nodded in agreement. How about we make it more interesting? We'll stand 20 meters apart, and if I can't subdue you in 3 seconds, I lose. Mi Ling was infuriated by this. Although she acknowledged Chen Luo's strength, the idea that he could subdue her in 3 seconds felt like an insult. Chen Luo was nonchalant. It's not that I underestimate you, I'm just very confident. Seeing Chen Luo's smug face, Mi Ling sneered internally. Once the match begins, I'll just turn and run. I only need to last 3 seconds. She then asked, what's the prize for our duel? Hearing this, Chen Luo smirked. It's simple. If you lose, all you need to do is bend over and let me kick you. Mi Li was taken aback and immediately retorted, and if you lose, I get to kick you. Chen Luo waved his hand dismissively. You can kick me to death or ask for any other demand, and I'll satisfy you. After all, with my insane void walking ability, there's no way I can lose. Mi Ling nodded in agreement. Soon, the two of them arrived at the rooftop of the apartment complex. Sudaju and Mi Li were present as witnesses to ensure that no one would deny their loss. As they prepared, Mi Ling fixed her gaze intently on Chen Luo, ready to dodge any move he made. She was confident she could last 3 seconds. However, to her astonishment, Chen Luo vanished from her sight the very next second. Startled, she quickly looked around, but there was no sign of him. Suddenly, with a swift sound, Chen Luo reappeared behind her, gripping her throat. Mi Ling instinctively tried to counter with a judo throw, but found herself unable to move his hand. Chen Luo then whispered into her ear, Mi Ling, you've lost. Realizing she had been defeated, Mi Ling released his hand. She knew that if Chen Luo had used a dagger instead of his hand, she would have been dead by now. Reluctantly accepting her loss, she wondered if she really had to let him kick her. At the thought, her cheeks reddened slightly. Chen Luo chuckled and said, let's head downstairs for breakfast, and he also apologized to her for the events of the previous days. Seeing the lavish breakfast spread out, Mi Ling couldn't resist and began eating heartily. After breakfast, Chen Luo called everyone for a meeting. meeting. We are all part of a team, so we need to discuss our next steps, he said. Once everyone was seated in the living room, Chenluo began. Since the apocalypse began, I believe everyone has noticed that the zombies are getting stronger. The only way to survive now is to unite, especially since food is becoming scarcer. Venturing into the horde of zombies alone to get supplies is a near-suicidal mission. Hence, survivors banding together in teams or settlements is the trend for survival. Though our small squad has individuals with significant strengths, if we face a group of 100, even if we emerge victorious, some of us would undoubtedly die, and that's an outcome I can never accept. Additionally, Mi Li, the two of you sisters. At this, Chenluo turned to Mi Ling and continued, being such beautiful sisters, what would you do if someone demanded unsavory favors? With society's collapse, human desires have been unleashed. The kind of experiences two beautiful women might encounter can be imagined. Hearing this, Mi Ling's face changed drastically. Who dares to have such intentions towards me and my sister? I'll castrate them. That's why we can't join others' teams and also don't want to be bullied. We should form our own group. Everyone nodded in agreement, understanding that there's strength in numbers during an apocalypse. Seeing no objections, Chenluo continued, if everyone agrees, we should decide on a base location. From my understanding of the apocalypse, the city center is full of zombies and not suitable for our base. Any sane person would seek refuge in the suburbs, so the best place would be my villa outside the city limits. Listening to this analysis, Mi Ling had to admit that Chenluo was indeed more suited to be the leader. As Mi Ling was deep in thought, Chenluo, thinking of avenging past grudges, had a mischievous look. However, kicking Mi Ling in front of everyone wasn't appropriate. Considering this, he ended the meeting and beckoned Mi Ling to follow him to a room. With a stern face, Mi Ling entered the room. Without waiting for Chenluo to speak, she blushed, turned around, and presented her behind, urging Chenluo to get it over with. Seeing this scene, Chenluo's excitement was palpable. Mi Ling grew impatient. Hurry up, I've been waiting here, and you're still hesitating. You have one more second, or I'll assume you've given up. As Mi Ling began a 10-second countdown, Chenluo was still contemplating the best angle. Although he could avenge with this kick, it might cost him a potential relationship. As Mi Ling counted down to 2, Chenluo knew he was out of time. Without further hesitation and with gritted teeth, he slapped Mi Ling's behind with his hand. The surprised Mi Ling, with a blushing face, exclaimed, weren't you supposed to use your foot? Why the sudden change to hand? Hearing this, Chenluo sheepishly scratched his head, admitting his oversight. Oops, I forgot. Should we try again? Mi Ling was so angry that she felt like pouncing on him and strangling him right there. Seeing this, Chenluo immediately begged for mercy. Mi Ling, still seething, finally backed down, warning him that if he ever mentioned this incident to anyone, she would genuinely strangle him. In an attempt to placate her, Chenluo quickly agreed and added that he'd have Sister Yu cook her favorite dish later. An irate Mi Ling warned him against playing any tricks on her, but then a sudden realization hit her. How does he know my favorite dish? Did Mi Li tell him? Seeing the table full of her favorite foods, she put this thought aside, her mind filled with the thought of the delicious food. After their meal, Mi Ling sincerely thanked Chenluo for taking care of her sister. Once everyone finished their lunch, Chenluo advised everyone to pack up, as they would soon head out to his large villa. Given their current dense residential location, it was easy for other survivors to rummage for supplies, and the area was not ideal for long-term habitation due to its limited visibility. Soon, everyone was ready, and they set out. As they traveled, they fought off zombies, making their way to the villa. This journey also served as a training exercise for Mi Ling and her group. Just then, distant cries for help reached their ears. Turning to the source of the sound, Chenluo saw a young man fervently swinging a rubber stick, fiercely holding his ground. 3 other youths, however, were slowly retreating. Chenluo immediately recognized that they were under attack from poison-type zombies. The young man could have escaped if he had left his companions behind, but he didn't. Spotting Chenluo, the young man desperately called out for help. Impressed by his character, Chenluo felt this man could be a good addition to their group. He ordered Thunder King to rescue them. Obeying the command, Thunder King jumped from their heavy truck, rushing towards the scene. A dazzling flash of lightning later, Thunder King had taken out the dozen zombies in mere moments, leaving onlookers like Fang Yu in utter shock. This dog is way too powerful, they murmured. With the help of his friends, Fang Yu approached Chenluo, deeply bowing in gratitude. If there's anything you need from me, just let me know. Hearing this, Chenluo, intrigued, asked, what were you guys doing before the apocalypse? Have any of you awakened any special abilities? Not wanting to hide anything, they immediately began introducing themselves. I'm Fang Yu, the oldest among us. I awakened a physique-enhancing ability on the 3rd day. My name is Yang Xian. My power is ice, and I awakened on the 5th day. I'm Li Fei. My ability is electricity. Awakened on the 5th day as well, but I'm nowhere near as powerful as your dog. And I'm Su Lan, with the power of earth, able to control sand and stone. I awakened on the 7th day. The 4 of us worked for the same security company and have been comrades in arms for years. Today, we went out to scavenge for supplies, but encountered a toxic spewing zombie and nearly got wiped out. Listening to their stories, Chenluo didn't waste any words and directly invited them to join his team. Fan Yu nodded in agreement. He had been looking for an opportunity to join Chenluo's team, recognizing their obvious strength, especially when even their dog seemed mightier than all four of them combined. Teaming up with Chenluo would ensure their safety. Seeing their agreement, Chenluo promptly asked them to board the vehicle, advising that if they had no essential belongings at their previous place, they should just leave them as there were plenty of supplies in the malls and stores. Soon, they arrived at the villa district. Chenluo arranged for them to stay in a villa close to his. Watching them leave to settle in, Mi Ling remarked, "You have a good eye, Chenluo. These four not only have the courage to fight zombies, but also don't abandon their teammates in dire times." Nodding, Chenluo replied, "It's precisely that quality that made me invite them, but always be cautious and watchful." "Don't worry, bro, we understand." The group then returned to their villa. Chenluo retrieved everyone's luggage from his unique space, along with a bag of rice and some daily necessities. He and Su Daju then went to deliver these items to Fan Yu's group. As they approached the door, they overheard the group discussing Thunder King. "It's unbelievable. One dog managed to take down a dozen zombies, and it feels like he could easily defeat us." "Take out the feels like. He can definitely defeat us." Chenluo cleared his throat, interrupting their conversation. He handed over the food and daily necessities. Su Daju also passed them a walkie-talkie. "It'll be easier to communicate with this if needed. I'm planning to settle here for the long term. This afternoon, I'll be leading a team to scout the villa district. Since you all have injuries, you should rest. If anything comes up, use the walkie-talkie to contact us." After lunch, Chenluo took Mi Ling for a walk around the surrounding villas. This greatly upset Mi Ling. "Why do you have to bring me along? I need to ensure Mi Li's safety. What if I get into trouble?" Before she could finish, Chenluo swiftly pulled her into some bushes, signaling her to stay quiet. Someone was approaching. From a distance, a bus stopped at the entrance of the villa area, and a white-haired girl stepped off. Chenluo immediately recognized her. Mu Tiange. In their previous life, she was the ultimate bootlicker to Mi Ling. Mu Tiange had created an all-female survivor team. While this might seem like a positive endeavor, she absolutely forbade any of her subordinates from dating or engaging in romantic activities, and those who defied this order faced severe punishments. It was hypocritical considering she herself was the #1 bootlicker for Mi Ling. Mu Tiange didn't allow any man to approach women from her team, mainly due to her being a full-blown psychopath. Despite her crazed tendencies, she was deeply loyal to Mi Ling, even sacrificing her life to save her. After her death, Mi Ling took over her position as the leader and began permitting romance within the team and even allowing male survivors to join. Lost in these memories, Chenluo recalled, "If my memory serves me right, around this time in our previous life, Mu Tiange was here to gather supplies. She hadn't met Mi Ling yet. However, our paths did cross. I wanted to join her team upon realizing it was all female, but she rejected me. Now, due to my presence, Mi Ling and Mu Tiange might meet sooner than expected. Also, if I remember correctly, there's an incredibly strong ice element ability user in their team. Had she not died early, she might have been one of the top-tier king-level individuals later on." Just as he thought of this, he and Mi Ling, hiding in the bushes, were discovered by Mu Tiange. The moment Mu Tiange laid eyes on Mi Ling, her whole body tensed, and a peculiar emotion welled up within her. She walked directly up to Mi Ling and greeted, "Hello, my name is Mu Tiange. May I know your name?" Although Mi Ling was a bit perplexed, she noticed Mu Tiange's politeness and replied courteously, "My name is Mi Ling." No sooner had she spoken than Mu Tiange, right in front of Chenluo, invited Mi Ling to join her team. However, Mi Ling promptly declined. Chenluo, on the other hand, cursed inwardly, thinking, "She really doesn't care about me, trying to poach right in front of me." Hearing Mi Ling's refusal, Mu Tiange glanced at Chenluo and pointedly asked, "Is he your boyfriend?" As Mi Ling's face turned a shade of pink and she was about to deny, Chenluo bluntly retorted, "What's it to you?" With that, he turned and prepared to clear out nearby zombies with Mi Ling, planning to return to the villa afterward. Watching the departing figures of Chenluo and Mi Ling, Mu Tiange smirked internally. "All men are inherently fickle and greedy. I must show Mi Ling his true colors and get her to join my team." With this in mind, she ordered her subordinates to search for supplies in the nearby villas. That night, Mu Tiange approached Chenluo with a proposition to gather supplies from a nearby large supermarket, claiming that the goods inside would be enough to feed 100 people for 3 years. However, the store might be swarming with zombies. She wanted to collaborate with him, suggesting a 70-30 split in her favor, justifying the ratio based on her team's size and contribution. Chenluo was utterly baffled, sensing ulterior motives. "Isn't that the mall where Mi Li and I encountered the mutated zombies? And the supplies there have already been taken by me. What's her game?" He declined Mu Tiange's offer outright. Upon hearing this, Mu Tiange was fuming with rage. It never occurred to her that Chenluo would be so timid. Thinking him a spineless coward, she wondered how Mi Ling could be interested in such a loser. She had originally planned to use the mall as a stage rage to show Chenluo's true colors in a crisis and then take advantage of the situation to eliminate him. But now, with her plan foiled, she was left wondering what to do next. As she thought of this, an idea suddenly struck her, and she considered seeking someone's help. Watching Mu Tiange's departing figure, Chenluo pondered, could this woman be targeting me because she wants to be with Mi Ling? In his past life, he never realized that Mu Tiange could be so ruthless. If that's the case, then don't blame me for being heartless. But who should I send to deal with her? As he contemplated, he returned to the villa and noticed Thunder King, the dog, sleeping on the floor. He chuckled. Who would suspect a dog? If anything goes wrong, we can blame it on Thunder King being ill. The next morning, Mu Tiange knocked on door 301. Bro Feng, are you there? As her words faded, the door was open from inside. The young man known as Bro Feng's eyes lit up when he saw her. It's Miss Mu. In front of you. I dare not be called Bro Feng. Just call me Little Feng. Watching the man who resembled a bootlicker, Mu Tiange sneered internally. If not for wanting Mi Ling and needing your wind power, I wouldn't even look at you. She then explained her plan to him, to use his wind ability to lure the zombies. This is to deal with that scumbag, understand? Jiang Feng nodded in agreement, but as he was about to set his conditions, Mu Tiange anticipated his request. Once it's done, you can join my team. Hearing this, Jiang Feng was overjoyed, looking every bit the bootlicker he was. Humming a tune, he left, thinking, it's a simple task, just exposing the true colors of the scumbag. But I remember my friend Su Daju works as a security guard in that villa area. I couldn't find him last time. Maybe I can find him now. Using his wind ability, he lured a horde of zombies towards the villa. However, upon reaching the entrance, he was shocked to see his friend Su Daju standing there. He skidded to a halt, exclaiming, Su Daju, what are you doing here? Thunder King, ready to pounce on the uninvited Jiang Feng, was held back by Chenluo. Zombies were closing in from behind, and without wasting time on catching up, Jiang Feng quickly led them away. Internally cursing Mu Tiange, he thought, damn her, she didn't mention my friend was in there. I can't jeopardize my friend just to join her. Watching Jiang Feng leave, Chenluo remarked, isn't that your bro Feng? He had a tragic end in our past life. We were friends, and he helped us many times by luring zombies away, giving us time to gather supplies. Unfortunately, he met a gruesome end in a zombie's jaws. Why would he bring zombies to my villa? Before he could delve further into these thoughts, Jiang Feng, who had led the zombies away, returned. Before he could speak, Chenluo took the initiative. Did Mu Tiange send you with the zombies? Hearing this, Jiang Feng was taken aback. She asked you to lure the zombies here? Do others know about it? Jiang Feng awkwardly scratched his head, indicating that no one else was present except for him and Mu Tiange. Just as Chenluo was about to say something, a zombie's roar echoed from a distance. Jiang Feng and Su Daju looked in the direction of the sound, puzzled, not knowing what it signified. Chenluo's face paled slightly. That sounds like a level 5 mutant zombie. Suddenly, a bus was seen approaching the residential area. Inside the bus, Mu Tiange was directing her subordinates to charge directly into the zombie horde. It seems these zombies must have been lured by Jiang Feng. Good job, she thought. Mi Ling, hang in there, wait for me, and don't get eaten by the zombies. In an instant, a few mindless level 1 zombies were sent flying by the bus. However, one zombie managed to dodge and stood to the side, watching coldly. It then conjured a fireball with its hands and hurled it towards the bus. With a loud bang, the rear window of the bus shattered. Women inside the bus screamed in terror. They had brought along gas cylinders, and an explosion would be catastrophic. Mu Tiange's face turned ashen as she shouted, stop the bus. Everyone out. The passengers panicked and hurriedly exited the bus. The zombie readied another fireball and hurled it towards the crowd. Mu Tiange, seeing the danger, quickly directed everyone to concentrate their firepower on the fire-wielding zombie. However, their attack seemed to have no effect. The mutant zombie then made a beeline for Mu Tiange. It seemed to understand the principle of capture the leader first, which left Mu Tiange in shock. Why is it coming straight for me? Seeing the zombie getting closer and closer, in a moment of desperation, she pushed one of her subordinates towards it and turned to flee. This act left her companions in disbelief. They never expected that their leader, Mu Tiange, would use one of them as a shield. As Mu Tiange ran, she spotted the approaching Chenluo and thought of using him to distract the zombie and buy herself some escape time. However, Chenluo smirked and said, Miss Mu, using your own sisters as shields during a crisis? I didn't expect this from you. As he spoke, he slapped Mu Tiange, sending her flying through the air. In disbelief, Mu Tiange wondered about Chenluo's surprising strength as she crash-landed next to the zombie. The zombie immediately pounced on her, biting into her. Just then, something unexpected, even to Chenluo, took place. A girl emerged from the bus, holding a burning gas cylinder in her arms, her expression wild with determination. She seemed intent on taking the level 5 zombie down with her. This brave girl was Xu Yun. Seeing this, Chenluo couldn't help but commend her courage. Girl, I have to admit, you've got guts. With that thought, he conjured the void sword, feeling that he couldn't let such a brave girl die like this. With one swing of his sword, he obliterated the level 5 mutant zombie. The scene left everyone in awe. A zombie that could have annihilated their entire group was taken down by this man with a single move. Is he that powerful? After vanquishing the zombie, Chenluo looked at Shuyun and asked, "Why haven't you thrown away that gas cylinder? Are you waiting for it to explode?" Hearing this, Shuyun quickly discarded the cylinder. As an explosion reverberated, Shuyun knelt on the ground, covering her mouth as she sobbed. Seizing the moment of the ensuing smoke, Chenluo extracted a red crystal from the zombie's head. "This will be quite useful for me." He then turned his attention to Shuyun, offering her a hand and saying, "Stop crying. Let me help you up and comfort your sisters. We should also bury the dead." Tearfully, Shuyun thanked him. Chenluo then inquired about their future plans. At that, Shuyun paused her crying and looked at her fellow sisters. "Indeed, the living must go on living," she pondered, casting a glance at Chenluo. Chenluo, sensing her contemplation, made his intentions clear. "If you all join my team, I guarantee that you won't starve in the foreseeable future. I'll also provide you with 50 tons of rice. How does that sound?" he offered. Tempting as the offer was, Shuyun didn't immediately accept. She decided to discuss it with her sisters first and give Chenluo a response later. After a brief cleanup, everyone dispersed to their homes. Chenluo, meanwhile, relaxed in a villa, sipping coffee, waiting for them to come to him. Unless someone's a complete fool, they wouldn't refuse such an offer. The only exception would be someone with great ambitions. But these girls don't seem to have any such ambitions, so they're bound to accept. As expected, it wasn't long before there was a knock at the front door. Chenluo approached and opened it to find Shuyun. She informed him that there were 20 others with her who wanted to join his team. Chenluo nodded in agreement but laid down some ground rules. Firstly, he began, "You must unconditionally obey my commands. If you decide to join but don't follow orders, don't blame me for being ruthless. And just to be clear, it's not anything inappropriate that you might be thinking of. Secondly, I don't discriminate between men and women here. Everyone is treated equally in combat. Don't tell me you're afraid or unwilling to kill zombies. Thirdly, if any of you seek a partner, try to find one within our group. It's not forbidden to look outside, but the person must marry into our group and join us." The girls were taken aback by the marriage condition. "Yes, you heard right," Chenluo continued. "This is not just to prevent someone I've painstakingly trained from being taken away, but more importantly, to avoid any malicious individuals from learning our internal secrets, which could threaten us all." Hearing Chenluo's explanations, the girls nodded in agreement. Pleased with their consensus, Chenluo assigned Shuyun as their temporary leader and then invited everyone in for lunch. The girls were ecstatic as they gazed upon a lavish spread. Their mouths watered at the sight of rice, stir-fried shredded potatoes, and a bottle of chili sauce for each. Meanwhile, Fang Yu and his 3 friends, excited by the sudden influx of girls, took their given chili sauces to woo potential partners. There were only 7 men in their group, while there were over 20 girls. One of the 20 newcomers had a rare light ability. This individual, named Wang Ling, was the very girl Jiang Feng had taken an interest in. She awakened her powers on the 3rd day. Impressive. I'll need to keep a close eye on her in the future. It seemed that out of all the girls, Shuyun had the best potential, with the talent reaching the king level. With this in mind, Chenluo instructed Fang Yu and Sulan to stay home, as he planned to take the team out for some team bonding and training the next day. If someone invades during this period, he told them, warn them if they're a minority, and if they still don't listen, then use force. If it's the majority, ignore them, and I'll deal with it when I return. Both nodded in agreement. The next day, Chenluo led the group to a nearby clothing market in a heavy truck. Outside the market, hundreds of zombies roamed, making it a perfect training ground. Through the walkie-talkie, Chenluo directed the team, form a formation. Jiang Feng, control the number of zombies. If it exceeds 30, lead the extras away. Don't worry, bro, Jiang Feng replied, and with his wind ability, began to control the number of zombies. Su Daju, who had a physical strength ability, was tasked with protecting the mages. Being their first time working together, there were many flaws in their coordination. Not only was the accuracy of their spells questionable, but the casting time was also painfully slow. A well-trained mage could cast a spell in 1 or 2 seconds, not the 5 or 6 seconds they were currently taking. Seeing the lack of coordination, Chenluo facepalmed, realizing that without his leadership, the team would have been wiped out. They clearly needed more practice. Once the battle was over, everyone was exhausted. Chenluo directed them into the supermarket to pick out suitable clothing. The women were overjoyed and went on a shopping spree. Chenluo sneakily stashed away some black stockings into his space. Unfortunately, this act didn't go unnoticed, as Mi Ling caught him in the act. Shocked, Mi Ling stared, wondering if Chenluo had some weird fetish. But then she thought, no, he isn't that perverse. Who could those stockings be for? Mi Li? She was confused as the color didn't suit her sister's personality at all. At that moment, one of the girls discovered a supermarket within the clothing market. Since there were quite a few zombies in the market, no one had searched it yet. She was thrilled to find a lot of bottled water in the supermarket. As she was about to quench her thirst, Shuyun stopped her and turned to ask Chenluo, Captain, can we distribute 1 bottle of water per person first? Chenluo smiled and replied, 2 bottles each. With his permission, everyone eagerly opened their bottled water. Witnessing this, Mi Li felt uneasy. There was something she had been holding back, wanting to talk to Chenluo about. After some hesitation, Mi Li decided to come clean. That night, as Chenluo was engrossed in a game, Mi Li knocked on his door, asking if she could come in. Delighted, Chenluo thought to himself that this might be an opportunity he had been waiting for. Once inside, Mi Li blushed as she said, "Chenluo, there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time." Seemingly aware of what was coming next, Chenluo was not surprised when Mi Li confessed, "Chenluo, will you be my boyfriend? Do you know how long I've been waiting for this moment?" He replied, leaning in to give her a kiss. Mi Li shyly admitted she wasn't ready for such intimacy. However, Chenluo, being a bit mischievous, started to playfully complain, suggesting that given the dire state of the world, he might not live to see another day, and therefore, they shouldn't wait. As Mi Li considered his words and began to relent, Chenluo was suddenly struck with the feeling of being watched. Turning around, he was horrified to find Rice, staring at them with a curious expression. Annoyed, Chenluo promptly tossed the overly curious Rice out of the room. Rice, feeling wronged, exclaimed, "Chenluo, you weren't like this before." After a noise, the door was immediately locked from the inside. Rice couldn't get in, no matter how much he tried. Frustrated, Rice continued scratching at the door. Meanwhile, Mi Ling sarcastically remarked from the side, "Oh, isn't this Chenluo's little kitty? Why aren't you sleeping with him and instead are out here in the living room?" Rice snorted coldly in response. "Chenluo is in the room bullying Mi Li. I saw how distressed Mi Li looked. He probably threw me out because he was afraid I'd come to her aid." Mi Ling, puzzled, asked Rice about how exactly Chenluo was bullying Mi Li. Just as the words left her mouth, realization dawned on her. Her face went through a gamut of emotions, and she impulsively wanted to rush into the room to help Mi Li. However, she was stopped by Thunder King, who said, "Without the master's permission, no one can enter. If you want in, you must knock first. Otherwise, don't blame me if things turn ugly." Just as Mi Ling was about to knock, she had a change of heart, thinking, if Mi Li herself was willing, what sense does it make for me to intervene? With that thought, she turned away, sighing, "My family's prized possession has been taken by a pig." The next day, Chenluo instructed Sister Yu to prepare a nutritious meal for Mi Li and to serve 20 kilograms of pork for the team's lunch. Mayu, a bit puzzled, inquired, "Where's Mi Li? Is she still sleeping? She doesn't usually sleep in." Before Chenluo could reply, Mi Ling responded sarcastically, "What do you think? She's been harmed by someone." Chenluo embarrassingly stuck out his tongue. "You're very observant, big sister. Well then, I'll go prepare that nutritious meal." Saying this, Sister Yu left. Thunder King was on the side, wolfing down its breakfast. Rice, however, was lying on the couch with an air of aloofness. Feeling guilty, Chenluo approached Rice and said, "Hey, Rice, why aren't you eating? It's not good to starve yourself." Rice hummed lightly in reply. Rice is very angry. The consequences will be severe. Chenluo tentatively asked, "How severe are we talking? The kind that can't be appeased with a single dried fish treat?" Chenluo chuckled. "What about 10? That's not enough. I need 20. Alright, deal. Okay then, since you're being sincere, I forgive you. Give me a hug." Hearing this, Chenluo gently picked up Rice and said, "Rice, you're a mature kitty now. You should get used to sleeping on your own. After all, I'm a married man and can't cuddle you to sleep anymore." Chenluo set up a feast for the team, serving braised pork. The aroma of the pork attracted an old sedan, from which stepped out a weary-looking brother and sister. The brother was named Li Ming, and the sister was Li Hui. Everyone looked at the suddenly appearing Li Ming, who managed a faint smile and said, "Sorry to bother you all. Do you have clean water? I can trade food for it." Upon hearing this, Chenluo nodded and had Shuyun bring over 2 bottles of mineral water. In return, Li Ming presented 2 loaves of bread and 2 sausages. After the exchange, Li Ming, holding on to Li Hui, prepared to leave. However, Li Hui, with longing eyes fixed on the braised pork, asked Chenluo if their team was recruiting. Chenluo, hearing this, stood up and approached them, questioning, "Are you sure you want to join?" Li Hui nodded affirmatively. Chenluo said, "Alright then, go outside and kill 10 zombies. Extract the crystals from their bodies. You can use weapons, but no vehicles or other external forces. Once you've collected the crystals, come find me." As soon as Chenluo finished speaking, a system voice echoed in Li Ming's mind. "Ding, an NPC has issued you a task." Hearing this, Li Ming nodded in agreement. "We'll do it right away." He then led his sister away. Watching their departing figures, Chenluo pondered, people with attachments like them are easier to trust than lone wolves. Besides, from the looks of it, these siblings aren't weaklings, otherwise, they wouldn't have survived until now. "I hope you don't disappoint me." Back in the car, Li Hui exclaimed, "Brother, it seems their team knows the use of the crystals. I thought they were unaware." Li Ming chuckled. "There are many smart people out there. Moreover, the fact that he can provide meat for so many team members is truly remarkable. If he asked us to kill 10 zombies, we should kill 20 to prove ourselves." Hearing Li Ming's words, Li Hui nodded in agreement. Half an hour later, Chenluo, looking at the crystals in their hands, welcomed them into his team. He then inquired about their awakened abilities. They introduced themselves. "I'm Li Ming and I awakened on the 3rd day. My sister Li Hui awakened on the 2nd day. I possess a constitution-related awakening, while my sister has darkness-based powers." Chenluo looked excitedly at the dark power in Li Hui's hands. He knew that darkness-based powers would get stronger with leveling up, and in the late stages, they become nearly invincible. With this in mind, Chenluo asked Sister Yu to prepare a portion of braised pork with potatoes for the siblings. That night, Chenluo asked Rice to sleep with Mi Ling, stating he had important matters to attend to with Mi Li. Rice, however, was somewhat reluctant, assuring that he would quietly watch and not interfere. This irritated Chenluo immensely. Confused, Rice watched as the furious Chenluo stormed off, not understanding why he was suddenly being shunned. Upon entering the room, Chenluo, unable to contain his excitement, immediately tried to initiate a passionate encounter with Mi Li. Mi Li promptly declined, saying it was inappropriate and she was still sore. Chenluo, feeling helpless, hugged her, saying he would only be close without crossing any boundaries, and suggested, "Why don't you try using a healing spell on yourself?" This left Mi Li blushing deeply. The next morning, Chenluo led the team out to search for supplies. On the way, Chenluo began to delegate tasks. First, everyone should rely on the vehicle to clear the trailing zombies, then get out of the car to remove the vehicles blocking the road. Elemental attack. Others protect in front. Jiang Feng, try to control the number of zombies. Upon receiving the command, Jiang Feng got out of the car and lured the zombies with his wind abilities. Xuyun then ordered everyone to focus their attacks. In an instant, the girls opened the windows of the bus. They attacked the zombies outside from the windows. Seeing this, Chenluo was very pleased. Good job. The accuracy of the spells is much better than the first day. After clearing the trailing zombies, everyone got out of the car to deal with the other approaching zombies. At the same time, they moved the vehicles, but Chenluo just stood by quietly watching everyone take action. Just then, Rice suddenly exclaimed, "No touching, it still hurts." Hearing this, Chenluo was stunned. He then glared fiercely at Rice, asking him where he had heard that from. Rice said that she overheard it from the balcony last night. "Besides, you only said I shouldn't watch. You didn't say I couldn't eavesdrop." Hearing this, Chenluo was utterly speechless. "You know too much, you cat. Be careful, or I might kill the cat to silence it." Half an hour later, everyone arrived at the Yulin community. Chenluo instructed everyone to take a weapon and clear out the nearby zombies. He also instructed a group to first enter the restaurant to see if there were any supplies to be collected. They split into 4 groups and were told not to act alone. All the collected supplies were to be moved to the truck. Soon, there were rice, flour, oil, and other supplies being loaded onto the truck. Just then, one of the girls exclaimed, "Captain, come quickly, there's a supermarket over there that hasn't been looted." Upon entering the supermarket, Mi Ling was looking for something near the cash register. This strange action caught Xuyun's attention. Curious, she went over and saw that Mi Ling was holding a box of ultra-thin condoms. Seeing this, Xuyun's face turned red instantly. Could she and Chenluo be in that kind of intimate relationship? Just then, Mi Ling noticed Xuyun staring at her, and her face turned crimson as she hurriedly tried to explain. However, Xuyun made an excuse and quickly left, leaving Mi Ling trembling with rage. If it wasn't for Mi Li, she wouldn't have been looking for that. Elsewhere, Chenluo noticed that many people in the community were watching their team, but he didn't care. Then, an old lady from upstairs asked Chenluo for a watermelon to quench her thirst. Hearing this, similar requests emerged from other rooms in the building. Chenluo was left speechless by these people. "You all really have some nerve." Chenluo flatly refused, saying that he had difficulty moving and they should come down and get it themselves. At his words, the crowd instantly became enraged. The old men and women upstairs began to curse at him. Led by one of the elderly men, a group of seniors armed with weapons rushed downstairs and surrounded Chenluo. "You young man, don't you know how to respect the elderly and care for the young? Didn't your family teach you any manners?" To this, Chenluo snorted, "A bunch of shameless old bastards. They don't dare to confront zombies, but are quick to bully people." As soon as he finished speaking, an old man started cursing at Chenluo. "The supermarket downstairs is owned by my brother. Where did you guys come from? Since you moved things out of it, we're keeping this truck. Be careful, or we won't be so polite." The others were preparing to seize the truck and the supplies inside. Seeing this, Chenluo, with an icy gaze, told the old man in front to get lost. But the old man, extremely arrogant, pointed at Chenluo and said, "What? You want to hit someone? Come on, hit me. I tell you, if you dare to hit, I'll lie down and won't get up. Hit me. You're afraid to, huh?" Hearing this, without saying a word, Chenluo raised his hand and slapped the old man. "In all my life, I've never seen such a demand. You're welcome." The old man was slapped so hard he flew backward, landing with a loud thud and not moving. Seeing this, the others began to talk. "Hey, are you okay? Wake up. Why isn't old moving? Is he alright? Don't worry, he used to scam people by pretending to be hurt. He's a pro. He's really good at acting then." Hearing this, Chenluo was speechless. "You're all old. Is your vision not working? Didn't you see half his face is skewed? If I don't give them a hard lesson, they won't back off." Thinking this, Chenluo snapped his fingers. Immediately, a group surrounded the old men and women, who also took on an aggressive stance. "I'm a grandma and I know magic. I'm a grandpa and I also know magic." Chenluo sneered, without making an example. "They won't disperse." The next second, a spatial orb was thrown at them. "Help! Run for your lives." After dealing with this group of elders, another group emerged from the community, and Chenluo felt a sense of recognition upon seeing one person. In his past life, When he was still weak, he used to hang out with this guy. It seems his name was Chen Guang. The young man named Chen Guang held out his hands to show he meant no harm. These elders who cursed us every day, I let them be because they're neighbors. I didn't expect them to meet their end by your hand. Upon hearing this, Chen Luo asked in response, do you seek revenge for them? Dude, don't get me wrong. We came here for 2 reasons. First, to make friends with you all, and second, to ask for a favor. I am Chen Guang. Saying that, he extended his hand for a handshake with Chen Luo. I am Chen Luo. What kind of favor? Hearing this, Chen Guang replied, in our community, there's a zombie dog that can control lightning, and it possesses an incredible intelligence. I hope you can help us kill it. Furthermore, there are many resources in the community that we haven't gathered. How about we split the loot? After listening, Chen Luo nodded. What's the compensation? Chen Guang was taken aback for a moment, but then laughed. How about 300 pounds of rice and 5 buckets of water? Upon learning from the rice that this group meant no harm, Chen Luo readily agreed. Before leaving, he instructed his team to continue loading the remaining supplies onto the truck. Thunder King, come with me. This made Chen Guang slightly shocked. Just the 2 of you? It might not be enough. Chen Luo just smiled. Didn't you notice I have a dog with me? This left Chen Guang completely baffled. No way. Bro, this is an apocalypse, not some peaceful golden age. You've kept 2 pets, and even travel with a group of ladies. It seems these ladies all listen to you. You've truly reached the pinnacle of life. At that moment, Meili suddenly asked, Brother Chen Luo, do you want me to come with you? Chen Luo smiled and waved his hand. Wait for me to return. He then handed rice over to Meili to hold. Seeing this, envy-filled tears streamed down Chen Guang's face. Damn, is there any justice left? He's got a cat, a dog, and a partner. All he's missing is a feast for every meal. On the way, Chen Guang began to explain details about the zombie dog to Chen Luo. After finishing his explanation, he asked if Chen Luo had any strategies to deal with the zombie hound. Chen Luo grinned, looking at Thunder King. Fight fire with fire, or in this case, dog with dog. Upon hearing this, a puzzled expression crossed Chen Guang's face. Dude, do you have a vendetta against your pet dog or something? Sending it might as well be delivering dog meat on a platter. Why not sell the dog to me instead? However, Chen Luo just laughed it off. Since the conversation had gone this far, Chen Guang no longer tried to dissuade him. Besides, the dog even nods its head. It seems quite intelligent. Thunder King then began to keenly sniff the air, moving while following a scent. Soon, Thunder King led them to the 8th floor of a building. Before even getting close, Chen Luo could smell a strong scent of blood. Opening a door, right in front of them was the zombie dog they were searching for. Upon receiving a signal from Chen Luo, Thunder King lunged forward, using his astonishing speed to dodge the undead hound's attacks. Seeing this, the pupils of Chen Guang and others contracted. Such speed! Thunder King seized the opportunity during a brief lapse in the undead dog's assault to close in. Simultaneously, Thunder King charged his tail with electricity, using a newly acquired skill called Thunder Sweep. The zombie dog had no chance to evade. Being struck fiercely by the swift and powerful Thunder Sweep, it was sent crashing into the wall, meeting its end. That's it, our collaboration is over. Time to hand over the promised supplies. Upon hearing Chen Luo's words, a stunned Chen Guang gradually came back to his senses, staring agape at Thunder King. It felt surreal. The entire battle hadn't lasted more than 10 seconds. If it wasn't for the fact that the zombie dog also had lightning attributes and some resistance to electric powers, it probably wouldn't have lasted even that long. As Chen Luo prepared to leave with his reward, Chen Guang stopped him, offering an invitation to team up with his squad. How about it? Would you consider joining us? I'm not boasting, but each of us has killed at least 10 zombies. We're willing to fight and absolutely reliable. Furthermore, we have abundant supplies, enough to last for at least 6 months. However, Chen Luo was unfazed, indicating he alone could easily annihilate all of them. To put it bluntly, have you ever seen a strong individual team up with weaker ones? If you really want to unite, you'd have to do everything under my command. I need absolute control. Hearing this, Chen Guang hesitated. Just then, one of his teammates rushed over, saying, a zombie that can shoot fireballs just injured Zhang Liang. Seeing our numbers, it fled. Hearing this news, Chen Guang, leaving Chen Luo behind, hurried to his injured comrade. Observing the situation, Chen Luo signaled Meili to follow and check it out. Seeing Chen Luo approaching, Chen Guang, like a drowning man clutching at a straw, pleaded for him to save his brother. Chen Luo, with a smile, looked at Meili, signaling her to administer a healing spell on Zhang Liang. Meili nodded and, with a single spell, the critically injured Zhang Liang was miraculously healed. He immediately thanked Chen Luo and Meili. Before leaving, Chen Luo reminded Chen Guang, consider my proposal carefully. With that, he and Meili left. Watching their departing figures, Chen Guang exclaimed, such a powerful healing spell. Guys, I discussed teaming up with Chen Luo. He said we could, but on his terms. What do you think? Should we join him or decline? Once this was spoken, the others began to voice their opinions. Chen Guang looked around, and seemingly no one objected. What's there even to discuss then? If this is the case, brothers, let's join them. Soon, Chen Guang, with his sizable group approached Chenluo, signifying that his squad was willing to follow Chenluo's lead. "Welcome to the team. I have just 2 conditions: follow orders and dare to fight zombies. If you can't meet these, don't blame me for being ruthless." With that said, Chenluo instructed them to pack all their supplies to bring them to his main base. "After all, now that we're united, it's better if we live together for mutual support. So, moving to my place is fine, right?" Chen Guang and his team nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, a group of thugs led by Lu Wei was going from house to house, gathering resources. With about 18 or 19 survivors in his group, Lu Wei had established some dominance among them through his ruthless methods. Soon, they stumbled upon the villas where Chenluo and Shuyun resided. The ones on guard duty, Fangyu, Sulan, noticed them first. Sulan inquired, "What should we do? Their numbers are significant." Chenluo once said, "If there are too many, just pretend you didn't see them. If conflict arises, with only the 2 of us, Fangyu and Sulan, we won't stand a chance." Fangyu, however, shook his head. "That won't work. We can't let them search our place. Our supplies are in there. Even if Chenluo didn't command it, we can't just stand by and watch. Let's go down and warn them. Tell them our main forces are about to return. If they don't heed the warning, we'll fight. We can then run to lure them away, buying some time. With the electric batons in our hands, we might even have a chance to strike back." Just then, they saw Chenluo's convoy returning to the compound. At the same time, Chenluo on the vehicle also noticed the aggressive survivors heading straight for his villa.